The American dream has dramatically changed since the time of Prevagar. The rules have changed over time as how to get to this position of the American dream. The circumstances and opportunities have changed since the time of Prevagar. College or higher education is part of the American dream now. Being able to pay for housing is very difficult from now. As back then, a farmer could grow his crops and gain profits in America. It was all about equality and equal opportunity for success. Now it's reaching the top position in the company, which differs from the original American dream. Some people's goal now is to retire early from their jobs, while back then people strived to be a farmer and work for themselves and their livelihood, not working towards retirement. Half of all millennials today think the American dream is dead. No surprise when the country's implicit message is go to school, work hard, and you might be able to enter the middle class, but not if you also want to raise a family. They don't think it is achievable because of the competition for the same school and the same jobs. Some people think American dream now is a nightmare, with increasing inequality and less social mobility, and it has the opposite of the idea that everyone is equal in America.
What do you think the American dream is?
The American dream is the freedom to pursue your dreams and be able to do what you want.
Personally, I think the American dream is the opportunity to do what you want to do whenever you want to do it. That is the American dream to me.
Well, I would say that the American dream for young people changes until it evolves, is what I'm trying to say. From when you're young to when you're somebody my age who is in their early 60s. And mine has evolved to the point of I have achieved it, but it is extraordinarily different from what I imagined it would be when I was your age. When I was your age, I would think having a family and a husband and having a very high education was my dream. And I achieved it, and yet I never dreamed I would be in this position. Life throws punches at you, but you can't give up the dream of achieving things. So I raised two beautiful and successful children, and that I would say was living the American dream. I'm devoutly Catholic, and I think that also evolves. I've also been always devout, but as I've aged, I've become even more devout. And that means hugely different than the superficial living the American dream.
How do you think it's changed from the time it was established or like the idea came about between back then and now?
I think the way it's changed, I wasn't here back then, but the way I see it is we have a lot more opportunities where, like, for instance, women now probably have a lot more abilities and freedom to do more things as opposed to back then. So I think now the American dream is just spread wider to more people.
Between then and now, I was born in 1976. I grew up in Connecticut, and I noticed that at elementary school there was a lot of opportunity for engagement without the aid of the resources that we have now. So I think the American dream changed basically because of the resources. So a good example of that is how we have access to information so quickly. So if you're looking for an answer for something, you used to have to communicate with people. You had to engage with people on a social level. Socializing now has been changed completely. So the options for those dreams have changed completely. You have now access to a global perspective. rather than an American perspective. So the ideals of an American lifestyle are now more global. I would say that it's not really an American dream anymore. It's more or less a global experience.
I don't think it's necessarily changed much. I think from the time of the founding fathers to now, the American dream has been families. So hopefully that part hasn't changed. It's always been hard to achieve it, I think, when you are of a socioeconomic class that is low, and I think it's much more challenging. So that I don't know if that's much changed. There's always been a factor for the lower middle class or lower class, especially socioeconomically, to gain any strides.
And would you agree that people have equal opportunity in America today?
I don't agree with that because it's all about information. It's about who you know and the communication that you have with that resource. So I could tell you that the best food you ever have is in Charleston, South Carolina. If you've never been to Charleston, or you've never been to Cape Cod, Massachusetts, or you've never been to the Northeast as a whole, there's a lot of experiences that you have to experience in order for that overall goal to be concrete. So people's access to it is completely different because, granted, you may have access to it digitally, but the one-on-one contact is what's missing. You know, the passing of the knowledge. That's the difference. So I would say that the American dream is not achievable for everyone.
I very much see a discrepancy in how people are treated, and also because of my age. So I've lived decades of that and watched it. And with my age, I've become more realistic, but probably more of an advocate than I would have been at your age. I've been always politically aware and politically active. So no, I don't think so. My children are adopted from South Korea, so I'm a mixed race family. And so I have seen, actually experienced racial prejudice within my own family, and you would never think that. At your age, you would never think it because you're much more idealistic, and as decades go, you become more realistic, but possibly more vocal about when you see prejudice or bias in your life. At least I am.
If you could change one thing about America for the better, what would it be?
Following a format of like what Scandinavia is doing, you know, as far as healthcare, as far as quality of life, as far as education being provided for, a lot of stuff that is being talked about now in the new Green Plan. I think that's really key to continuing the innovation of America, rather than feeling like there was a time when we had opportunity, but that time's passed. It's continually growing, but that would be the thing I would change, is the ability to have access to the basics all the time, rather than feeling like you had to fight for 4 years, and fight for it another year, and then retract from it.
One pinpoint, I would absolutely hope that President Trump is President Trump after, as soon as possible. And we have civil rights that we have that I've seen other countries don't have the freedom that we do. I do think our healthcare system could be improved, and I look to Canada's and France's healthcare system. They have universal healthcare, and I think that is absolutely doable in this country. So I still am very, very proud to be American.
What advice would you give to someone moving to America for the first time?
One key thing that I would say is experience America as a whole, not just necessarily going to the big city. I would say visit New England, the South, the West, the Midwest, where we are now in the South, but really visiting the heartlands and places, and really traveling via car rather than flying everywhere. Taking a train, it's probably what I would tell anyone coming to America. I would say, hey, look, it's great you want to go visit New York, it's great you want to visit LA, but there are components that made America what it is. It's the national parks, it's the coastlines, it's the Rust Belt.
The American dream continues to evolve since the early 20th century, when The Great Gatsby was written. The original American dream was about creating an equal playing field for all citizens. It was about justice and democracy. These days, the dream is mostly just individual wealth and fame. At the time of the original American dream, being a billionaire was seen as un-American. It went against the dream of equality because billionaires are inherently unequal. The term American Dream was coined in 1931 by James Truslow Adams, who wrote the Epic of America. In the book, he wrote that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. It is a difficult dream for the European upper classes to interpret adequately, and too many of us ourselves have grown weary and mistrustful of it. Man and each woman shall be able to attain to the fullest stature of which they are innately capable, and be recognized by others for what they are, regardless of the fortuitous circumstances of birth or position. This provided us a society that helps people lead better lives. The founding father of our country held certain truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. This concept gave birth to America in the first place, and it is the mother of the American dream. America itself was born from the idea that the people's desire to strive for happiness and success is not at all selfish, but a valuable triad which leads to ambition and creativity in its people. The founding fathers recognized this idea and put it into laws which protected it. This provided us a society that helps people lead better lives. Our version of the American dream are equal opportunity for everyone and leading a financial stable life with little to no stress. Doing something that you love without having to worry about the financial issues. Equal classes, being able to provide for my family, and equal rights for all people in America, no matter race, religion, and other factors. We do not believe all people are able to achieve the American dream. Depends on the circumstances of your financial situation that you were born into. Though some make it out and others have to work multiple jobs just to get by due to today's economy.